Welcome back. Well, much of the focus of this race has been on the Republican infighting. The Democrats are facing a growing battle of their own. After his big victory in Indiana, Bernie Sanders says he's going all the way to the convention. This despite the insurmountable delegate math against him. So is Senator Sanders hurting Hillary Clinton and the party by staying in the race? Joining me right now is Luis Miranda. He is a communications director for the Democratic National Committee. Sir, good to see you. Thanks so much for joining us.
Good morning. Thanks for having me on. And let me just say Happy Mother's Day to all your viewers, including my mom who's watching today.
Thank you. Right back at you. Big shout out to all the most important people out there, the mothers. Let me ask you about this on Bernie Sanders, please, because he's digging in. Is he hurting Hillary Clinton's campaign?
I think it's actually been a good primary for us, and we're excited about where it is because we look at what the voters are saying, and in exit poll after exit poll after exit poll in Pennsylvania, Connecticut, New York, Wisconsin, we're seeing a trend where, 7 out of 10, 75% of our voters are optimistic or excited about both of our candidates. 3/4 are saying that they think that the primary has excited the party and has been energizing. And so we feel good about that. We don't think that it's a problem. We actually think that it's good that our candidates have been out there in every state so far, campaigning, talking to the voters, engaging with them.
So why do you think...
And we think that we're going to come together at the convention.
Luis, why do you think then voter turnout is so weak? I mean, when you look at the voter turnout numbers, the Republican voter turnout is up 60%. Democratic voter turnout is down 20%.
I'm really glad you brought that up, and it speaks to the dismal voter turnout among Republicans generally. If you look at our turnout, it's actually up over our norm. We're well above where it normally is, 2008 being the exception. But I think the biggest and most important numbers are when you get down to the vote totals, and you have Hillary Clinton with more than 13 million votes, far ahead of Donald Trump, where he ended up. And you see Bernie Sanders had more votes than Ted Cruz and John Kasich. So we have had actually very good voter participation, and we think that if there's an enthusiasm gap, it certainly favors us because, again, our candidates have had more voters come out and support them than their Republican
counterparts. But this is what it's all about, right? I mean, if you see voter turnout the way it is right now, you say it's good, but it's way down, obviously, from Barack Obama. But we know that that was a special year, and that was really incredible voter turnout.
Well, and again, 13 million votes is far more than Donald Trump has. But more importantly, if you look at the exit polls for Republicans, half of their party feels, more than half, feels that their primary has been divisive. So where we're seeing 75% and majorities who would support either candidate, you have Republicans where they just don't want to support their front runner. 40% of voters in one of the states actually felt that a Donald Trump presidency would be dangerous. We happen to agree with that. And a third would rather stay home, not vote, or vote for an alternative rather than support him. So I think we have a situation where the voter turnout isn't going to be what defines the election.
How would you,
in that same way, from the primaries, it's going to be the issues.
Pardon me, Luis. How would you characterize the Democratic Party today? I mean, I feel like with the emergence of Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, certainly President Obama, the party has moved further to the left, and that, in fact, has pushed Hillary Clinton further to the left. I mean, it's interesting to look at the fact that Sanders is trailing Hillary Clinton by 774 total delegates, and yet he's still there, and he's going to get a big platform at the convention. Bernie Sanders will. Is that because the party has moved much further to the left than, let's say, I don't know, before Barack Obama?
Well, this is an inclusive party, and so we're certainly going to make sure that both of our campaigns are represented at the convention and in terms of our platform. But overall, I think that the party is intent on dealing with the issues.
Has it moved further to the left? Has it moved further to the left?
I think there's definitely an interest from a large portion of our base to look at how do we address some issues better, like the pay gap and the wage gap and the wealth gap that we're seeing in the country. But this is also a party that one of the reasons we're energized, and you see 3/4 of us are excited about our primaries, is because we also recognize that we've been moving in the right direction. Where just yesterday we hit Friday, we hit 74 straight months of private sector job growth, almost 1 million of those in manufacturing, precisely because this Democratic administration has put us on a path towards coming out of the Great Recession and getting back towards building an economy that works for everyone and that creates opportunities.
And yet, Luis, we're going into West Virginia on Tuesday, and West Virginia has lost about 12,000 coal jobs. We know what Hillary Clinton just said the other day. She said that she was misquoted when she said we're going to put a lot of coal miners out of work. Coal miners took her to task on that. How are you feeling going into West Virginia, knowing that so many people have lost their jobs because of the regulations that the Obama administration and Hillary Clinton have pushed forward because of the contribution to greenhouse gas? We're going to speak with the CEO of a coal company on the program coming up.
Well, I think it's a really good issue, and it's an important one because it speaks to our changing economy and the fact that we do have to invest in new industries. You know, we went from producing about 2% of the world's renewable batteries in 2008 to producing about half of them just 6 or 7 years later. And so you see that that's the kind of investment in infrastructure and manufacturing that helps build the economy, not for the short term or to try to save old jobs that are going to go anyway, but to make sure that we're investing in the type of job training and retooling our manufacturing and retooling different sectors so that they're actually able to participate and take advantage of the new economy. And that's the kind of thing we need to do across the board. Look, I think one of the things we see when we hear Republicans talking about smaller government is that it's about really broken government, because it's a government that can't deal with the reality of how do we retool a West Virginia to be successful? How do we make sure that cities like Flint aren't falling behind? How do we make sure that cities like Katrina have a federal emergency management agency that can respond when things happen? And the smaller government that Republicans have been pushing for is really broken government. So from a Democratic perspective, we want to invest in those cities, in those states, in a new economy so that our workers are doing well. And I think that's the message that we have to get across in West Virginia and across the country.
It sounds like you agree. There will be more coal jobs cut. There will be more losses in the coal industry then.
Well, we need to make sure that they have new jobs to take in the renewable energy sector. That's part of the challenge that we have, is to make sure
that What do they know about renewable? These guys and gals have been working in a coal mine. That's what they know. They're going to have to be retrained. I mean, they don't know about renewable energy and what to do there.
We've got to create opportunities.
They've had a career and had feeding their families on coal for decades. Now they're out of a job.
And we need to make sure that they have opportunities, that if those jobs aren't there, that there's something else for them to be able to move into. That's the challenge of good government, of effective government, is to make sure that they do have job training and alternatives.
Luis, before you go, real quick, Ed Rendell, I thought, was really an interesting quote that he said, the chairman of the convention, the Democratic convention. He says, Sanders supporters better behave themselves when he loses. So it's a slam dunk, I guess. Ed Rendell says it. Do you think they'll behave themselves? What do you think that meant?
I think, like I said, we're committed to making sure that both sides are represented, and we do think that they'll, every side is going to behave themselves, because ultimately we know the damage that we would get from a Republican administration, and we're going to be united coming out of this convention. We're going to be in a place where we go to Philadelphia and come out stronger, and we feel confident about that, especially because of what we're seeing on the Republican side. Just this morning, Sarah Palin said that Paul Ryan is going to be cantorized. They're out in an all-out civil war. We don't have that on our side. We want to build on the progress we've made. So I feel pretty good that we're going to come out of Philadelphia united. It
sure is an interesting moment in time. Luis, good to have you on the program. We'll see you certainly in July at the convention as well. Luis Miranda, we'll see you soon, sir. Thank you.